guys, this is Janine from Pangolin. Welcome back to my Lightroom course, and today we're talking about how to choose keepers. I know it's incredibly difficult to part from your own images, especially if you've been to a special place. But if it comes to wildlife photography, we just tend to shoot too much. We can't choose them all and we can't show them all. So let's get down to how to choose your best. Which ones are you going to show? Alright, if you haven't yet, please download the 3 sequences that you could find on our homepage as an example how to choose your images. You would all agree that if we look at a sequence of 14 pied kingfishers, we really do not need to keep all of them. I know it's very tough to choose, especially if you had a special holiday, but I'm sure if you've been to Africa, you'll come home with hundreds of elephant photographs. So now you need to become very specific which one you're going to choose and which one are you going to show. How are we going to do that without letting the emotions get in our way? Number 1, it really helps to know what we wanted from an image. Let's try and grow above just point and shooting and let your image tell a story. What message did you want to get across and what atmosphere did you want to create? If you know what you wanted from your image, it will be a lot easier to choose from 14 images down here. Secondly, it really helps to have composition rules in the back of your mind. So you're going to check all the general suspects, like do we have a sparkle in our eye? Is the head turned towards us? Is our background clean enough? Is the subject sitting in the center? If so, do we have enough space to crop it into a pleasing composition? Is any areas of the image way too dark? And is any areas of the image way too bright? If I look at the histogram, you see that a lot of the histogram is pushed to the left. It is a very dark image, but big parts of the bird are white, and I'm pleased to see that our histogram is not touching the right hand side, meaning that none of these white parts are blown out. If you want to learn more about histograms, please check out our Lightroom tutorial with Danielle on YouTube. Before we make a choice of which image we need to keep, you need to get an idea what is there. So in the first step, you make your images large. If you view them on full screen by pressing F, you get a much better idea. If this is still not enough, you can left click on the image and it will zoom in with the crop factor that you have chosen in your navigator here on the top left hand side. So in the first step, we go through all our images, and I want to encourage you to press I for information, not once, but twice, in order to see your settings. It will give you a very good idea what to expect. At 3,200 of a second, I shouldn't see motion blur. I had a decent depth of field, and my ISO wasn't too high. So let's get started. One quick go to give you an idea what we're having and what we're dealing with. We're having a pied kingfisher with an excited crest, slapping his fish on the log to tenderize it. There we go. Now you get a good idea what is there. The most important factor after that is testing for sharpness, which is why it is a good idea to zoom in a little bit. If your image isn't perfectly sharp, it doesn't deserve to be shown, or it doesn't deserve to go into the best of folder. It might pass through as memories. So I really like this shot because he's got the crest. At the end, it also comes down to personal taste, what you like, but we have the sparkle in the eye, we have the fish looking at us. It is all there. If you're not sure which image is better because they're so similar, you can have an X on Y comparison down here, only if you're in your library chapter. So let's compare these two. And you can see immediately that the right-hand picture, which is number 2, is way sharper than the left-hand image. Therefore, number 2 clearly won out over number 3. Easy as that. Number 3 isn't good enough, so I'm going to click it. It will receive a white frame. The side that holds the white frame can be replaced with different and new images, always being compared to our original image, giving you a very good idea. So here we cannot see the eye of the bird, even though we can see the fish very well. On this image we have the white of the eye showing, which I don't like. This looks a little bit out of balance from a bird's perspective. The right-hand picture is way sharper than the left-hand picture. Here we're getting a bit closer, but the right-hand picture is still sharper than the left-hand picture. Ooh, these two are pretty much identical, except that the left-hand picture is slightly larger. That means you will have more information in this image. So I'm going to choose this picture over the other one now. Very much alike, these two. Doesn't really matter. I think the right-hand one might be a tad sharper. So we're going to choose the right-hand one and exchange the left-hand one. There we go. So now that you have gotten a good idea, either by looking at them straightforward within your full view, or by comparing them directly towards each other, you know that you have two options. You have the option of a straightforward portrait, nice and neat, everything looking great, or you have the option of showing a little bit more of a storyline here, because the pied kingfisher was busy whapping his fish down. So this picture explains exactly what was happening in that moment. We don't just have a sparkle in the eye of the bird, but also in the eye of the fish with a wide open mouth. So in my eyes, this is clearly the winner. If you would like to keep a nice portrait nevertheless, just for memory purposes, you can keep 2 out of the sequence. That makes it 11 and 14. So now we can go ahead. We can grab the first picture. We can grab the 10th picture and just press X for reject. If you have your auto sync locked, it will reject all of them while you're looking at them individually. Otherwise, you can only reject in bulk if you have your matrix view. We'll quickly reject 12 and 13, and there we go. The other 2 images are worthy of editing, and I personally would place them in my best of folder now. If you want to know more about my workflow, check out my other module on how to get a quick workflow going for a busy schedule. Let's give this another try now that we know what we're looking for. We have a baby elephant playing in the water. The cuteness factor always makes it double difficult to delete. We're going through them one by one. He was clearly playing with the water, so a picture with a decent water splash would be preferable. We want to see as much of his face as possible. I believe this was a splash of the mother, not of the baby. We would like a preferable trunk position, because some positions can look a bit funny. I don't like it when he crosses over his mother's leg. However, I like it when he's very close to the mom, because it gives you a very good size relation between the two. So that is the first impression of this sequence. So what we would do now is go through them one by one. You can either compare them X with Y, or you look at them individually. I'm going to put my caps lock on, that way I can go through them much quicker without having to press my right hand arrow. I press reject for the reasons I've stated. No water splash, I can't see the eye. Oh, there we see a bit more. As soon as you have an image you sort of like, the first thing you do is you check for sharpness. It was shot in 0.002 of a second. That's when we start freezing water, so it should be fairly sharp. but baby Ellie isn't as sharp as I would like him to be. And by the way, this shot is much cuter because you see the tip of its trunk. Anyway, we can keep it for now. No, we can't see enough of the trunk. Big splash, but no trunk. There's a little bit of tongue, which is incredibly cute, but not enough splash. He's turning more towards his mother, which is really nice. And if we zoom into this image, you will see all these water droplets really nicely coming off its mouth. And you will agree that this image is a lot sharper than the first one we checked out with the water splash. So we want to see all the little individual hairs. We clearly want to see the eyelashes in those drops. So do not settle for an image that isn't entirely sharp. It's simply not good enough. So going back to our sequence, it's touching Mummy. Not enough zoomed in. I'm going to choose a different zoom factor. Not sharp enough. The splashes in the background took too much of the focus. This is when you have both the splash, the face. He's pretty close to Mum. Not enough splash. He's touching Mummy. He's crossing Mummy. There's a nice splash. And I feel this is a more natural pose than that. So we were able to bring it down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 images, which is a pretty good job, but in theory, still too much. Do you really need to show this baby elephant 6 times? So now you go back and choose which one of these you do prefer over the other ones. I really sort of like how he touches Mummy's leg. And you have a little bit of water droplets here. He's got a beautiful smile on his little face, and it's sharp enough. So you have the connection between the mum and the baby. You have a bit of the water splash. You have his face. For me, that is one of the better ones. This is pretty much up to your personal taste now. It gives you a very good idea how you can approach it. A direct comparison between them might help you. But at the end, it's up to you what you really like. Let's move on to our last example, number 3. It's an elephant throwing dust. We are in the Chobe and we work a lot with elephants. And I'm going to have a quick check at my settings. It's a nice fast shutter speed. At 2000th of a second, we start freezing that movement with the trunk and the dust. F8 gives us a bit more depth of field to get the whole elephant face in focus. It is a quite high ISO because it is a dark elephant. If I zoom in, I immediately see that my focus seemed to have been somewhere on this area, so slightly off, even though I feel that my eye is still sharp enough for my liking. So again, we go through the sequence. It's only 6 images. It tells a story of an elephant dusting. So obviously we want as much dust as possible, but at the same time we want the eye. The eye is sort of crucial, and the eye vanishes in this image because he's got his trunk pretty much wrapped around his face. So I wouldn't go for the images where you cannot see anything of the face anymore. This is probably the image with the most beautiful dust here, but also the image is covering too much of the elephant. So I still want to see some of the elephant. So at the end, it pretty much boils down to the image where you can still create a connection to the subject by looking at the eye. And I believe this is the image where you can see the eye the best because the elephant's trunk is still above the eye. You have a lot of detail on the trunk because the dust isn't so thick yet. However, we can clearly see the story unfolding. So in my eyes, this is my preferred image. From a compositional point of view, it's horrible how those legs are cut off. So you will have to work on that composition afterwards in the development mode by choosing a different frame. Alrighty guys, I really hope this gave you a good idea on how to choose between your images. Maybe by downloading my images and deleting mine, it wasn't as tough on you emotionally, gave you a good head start. The more images you are able to delete, the easier it is to manage your photographs afterwards. I know there's a lot of photographers out there that say they want to keep all their photographs they've ever shot, except if they're really blurry, because they hope that our editing technology improves so much so that they can still save them. But be frank, do you really need hundreds and thousands of the same subject? If you have 14 pike kingfishers, irrespective of the technology out there, you will want to choose the one with the best pose, and you don't need the others. Relieve yourself of that burden. Make your data mount in front of you manageable. And I know it's a lot of work, but if you take yourself a little bit of time each day or each week, you'll get there slowly but surely. And then editing becomes so much more fun, and you will actually find the really good images. A last advantage of going through your images and deleting is that you become a lot more critical. You're going to start looking at your settings a lot more intent, because your settings are the answer for what went wrong or what went right. So you will learn so much out of your own images and therefore also improve your own photography. Give it a try. Don't be too hard on yourself. But in general, wildlife photographers should delete between 80 and 95% of their photographs. It's a rough one, isn't it? Let's start off with 75 and you're doing good. Bye-bye.